computer. Everyone gets to press got it. Let me get John so you can hear me. Here we go. Okay, I can hear a couple more people walking. Okay, John's here. Heidi and Carol are coming, and then we'll get started. I have no handouts. Let me get a sip of coffee.
I guess we'll have to take it.
That's right, I am recording. I can't find the recording of the transgender one. I have to keep looking. I don't know where it went. Maybe my computer is nice to me. Okay, now I'll mute upon entry. Now I'll do that. Participants. Okay, mute upon entry. That's nice that the people are coming in. Good. Okay, Richard is good. Nick is good. Okay. Bob is good. Shelley is good. Okay, we're good. Okay, good. Checking. Okay, we look kosher. Welcome, Carol, Heidi, and John. What's that? Oh, no, I brought coffee. I learned last time when all there was wine, which is not what I need at 7:30 on a Thursday night. So welcome Zoom user and Bob and Linda and Shelley, Joan and Irv, Edie, Nick, Richard and Ellen and me. Okay, welcome to tonight's tough, big, large questions. All right. And we're going to get started. I'll tell you a story. And so tonight's question is, what's so bad about idolatry? Because we were talking last week or last month, and someone mentioned that there are 3 things you should kill yourself before doing. And one was murder and one was rape. And what was the last thing? It was idolatry. And I tell the story. So again, I only have 5 stories. So if you've been to 5 of my classes, you've already heard my 5 stories. That years ago, I was in my office one day and a woman calls me up and she's very upset. She calls me up and she says, Rabbi, what should I do? I'm in China. So she calls me from China and she says she's on a trip with her kids and they're touring the Great Wall of China and they're seeing all the temples and stuff. She turns around, she's looking at some picturesque, view. She turns around and she sees her 2 daughters, ages 5 and 10, 8 and 6, bowing down to a Buddha. Right? The tour guide was telling that it's good luck. And there she sees her 2 little daughters bowing down to a Buddha in some, temple in some temple in China. Oh my God, what should I do? Should I wash them out? Should I wash them with boiling water? Do we have to kill them? It's idolatry. You got to kill them all. And and I said, it's okay. They don't know what they were doing. It's not idolatry. But the question remains as we study the Torah is what's so bad about idolatry? Should we be looking for these idolaters? Should we kill them all? And so the idea is we're going to talk about tonight is what is our problem with idolatry? Of course, any class we do is going to be a little blasphemous. Yes.
Question: when they were bowing down to the Buddha, that's because they stumbled on that in whatever tour they were doing.
Right.
So would that classify as idolatry, or were they just paying respect by bowing down to say hello?
It is a big no to bow down to idols. It's an idol and you're bowing down. Yeah, if the idol was Moses, you would still be really, really, really bad. Okay. And if it was, Muhammad or Jesus or Buddha or Baal, that's the bad God, all bad. And we're going to talk about what idolatry is. And there's a list of what constitutes idolatry that will fall under it. This is what we're talking about. So here it goes. What is idolatry? We'll start with the what. What is idolatry? Idolatry is among the most serious sins in Judaism. Its rejection is the core of Jews worldwide. So, it's always don't do idolatry. Idolatry is the subject of the first 3 commandments. So I was looking at the ark. I was going to point to the 3 commandments, but we don't have the commandments on the ark anymore. But the subject of the first 3 commandments is no idolatry. Its practice is one of the 3 cardinal sins. We said there are 3 things which one is supposed to die for rather than transgress. Murder, rape, and idolatry. So yeah, if someone says, murder someone or I'll kill you, you should be killed. Rape someone, get killed, or commit idolatry. So the question is, what does that mean? If they said, go bow down to that idol in China or get killed, am I supposed to die? Yeah, the answer is no, but I just gave away the whole thing. Okay, here it goes. So a ban on idolatry is also one of the Noahide commandments. We've talked about this a few times. There are 613 commandments for Jews, but there are only 7 commandments for non-Jews, for humanity. The 7 Noahide laws, one of them is no idolatry. So it's not just for us, it's for all humanity. The 7 laws of the 7 laws that Judaism teaches are incumbent on all humanity. So idolatry is it's a no-no. Okay, let's start with idolatry is bad. Okay, the elimination of idolatry. So what are we supposed to do to the idolaters? And by the way, if you're new to Tough Questions, I ramble on for about 20 minutes and then you get to ask questions. But Neil's not here, so you might actually have to think about a question. Okay, so there it goes. The elimination of idolatry from the world was traditionally a central Jewish objective. In the 7th chapter of Deuteronomy, right? 5 books of Moses, blah, 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 New Deuteronomy. In the 7th chapter of Deuteronomy, God declares that idol-worshiping nations, residents in the land of Israel. So, God says, that's your land. Unfortunately, there were some 7 nations living there. Idolaters, we should wipe them out. So God says, wipe out the idol-worshiping nations that are living in Canaan, in Israel. No treaties should be signed with them. No Israelite sons or daughters should be offered up to them in marriage. Instead, what does it say? And this is a quote from Deuteronomy. Instead, this is what you shall do to them, to the idolaters. You shall tear down their altars, smash their pillars, cut down their sacred posts, and consign their images to fire. Kill man, women, and child. Destroy their altars. Leave no stone unturned. According to Maimonides, embracing idolatry amounts to the denial of the whole Torah, and its prescription is the outstanding commandment of them all. Right. So, and by the way, if you heard me closely, what you're supposed to do to idolatry and idolaters, that we should burn down everything. It might sound a little like ISIS. Anyone who remembers when ISIS was popular, right? They didn't just kill everyone. They try to get rid of they burned down everything. That's not a coincidence. I have another sermon that I won't give because it won't be very popular. It's called "We Were the Original ISIS." But that's one I don't give too often because it wouldn't go well. But the idea is Muhammad, right? Beginning of Islam, Muhammad loved Judaism, loved the Bible, Muhammad thought that all the Jews were going to convert to Islam. And so just like Martin Luther, not Martin Luther King Jr., but the original Martin Luther, both thought that Jews would just come along with them because they all thought, why wouldn't you join me? And when we didn't join them, again, Muhammad tried to make Yom Kippur the holiest day of the year, actually. So the idea that ISIS is following a rule book, the rule book that's written in the Quran is actually from the Old Testament, from us. All right, so we're supposed to burn it all down. Yes.
Rabbi, can you just give a quick definition or explanation of idolatry?
Yep, it's coming. You just have to. It's on my next page.
Was it? Is it Christianity or people who?
That's coming.
Idolatry.
That's coming. Just have to wait.
Jewish and he's being idolatrized.
Huh?
He is Jewish and he is being idolatrized.
Who's Jewish?
Jesus.
Jesus is Jewish. Yes, Jesus is Jewish. And is that idolatry? That's coming up. You gotta remember, you gotta listen to me first. Okay, so we are told to kill them all. So it's bad and we should kill them all. But what is idolatry? We started off by talking about the little girls bowing down to an idol. Idolatry is, here it goes, the worship of gods with a small g, the worship of gods or natural phenomena. If you start worshiping, nature, we're going to talk about Wicca just because Neil was so interested, or paganism. Idolatry is the worship of gods or natural phenomena in place of the one God who created the world, who redeemed the Israelites from the Egyptian slavery and revealed the Torah on Mount Sinai. So if you pray so the original idolatry idea was, if you don't pray to our God, you're an idolater. I mean, And the original story of Abraham was the idea that everyone was an idolater, but Abraham was the first monotheistic guy. The prohibition includes, now here goes. So what is idolatry? The worship of celestial bodies. So if you worship the sun, the moon, the stars, or other natural phenomena, people, if you worship a person, inanimate objects, a stone, a brick, or foreign gods, that's an easy one, idolatry, as well as worshiping God, our God, in a manner which idols were worshipped. So if you start worshiping Adonai, if you call our God, if the God had a name, like Adonai, Goldberg, but if God had a name and our God was named Adonai, and you start worshiping God the way the idolaters do, that is idolatry as well. This is going to be important when we talk about Christianity, Hinduism, Islam, which according to some biblical passages featured, this is important, what is idolatry? How do you worship other gods? Many of them featured child sacrifice and prostitution, prostituting your daughters out. So don't forget that. Put a pin in child sacrifice and prostitution. It is likewise forbidden to make any object, don't make an idol, of divine worship, even if it's merely for decoration. Do not visit my house, okay? Because in my house, all my art comes from my in-laws, and my in-laws buy lots of art. And a lot of art, if you look closely, are little Buddhas and little horses. And I think my house has a bunch of Buddhas and golden calves. I'm pretty sure, they're pretty, but don't look closely in my art, or in your art probably too. A lot of our art. Joan and Irv, I have a great statue of two rabbis, but that's okay. Okay, so but the idea of making for any object of divine worship, even if it's merely for decoration. So technically, my little Buddhas in my house would be a big no-no, even because it's for decoration. I'm not bowing down to them. Okay. The child sacrifice and prostitution is an important part. For many of us rabbis growing up, when we said, what's so bad about idolatry, it kind of went hand in hand with child sacrifice. The story that we remember as kids about Abraham, when we meet Abraham, he's an old guy. We really don't meet Abraham as a kid in his father's idol shop. That's a made-up story, which we'll talk about in a moment. But what's the first story we really have of Abraham? The Akedah, the binding of Isaac. Right. So God says, sacrifice your son, your only son, blah, 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 blah. And Abraham's going to sacrifice Isaac. And then God says, no, I don't require child sacrifice. Yeah. And kill that ram, blow that ram's horn. I'm pointing to a shofar, blow that ram's horn. And we become the religion of not child sacrifice, because idolatry was about child sacrifice. So when did we start rejecting idolatry? Well, according to the Midrash, I just told you the story. According to the Midrash, that's not in the Bible, that when Abraham was a kid, I think I told this last month, actually, when Abraham was a kid, he was working in his father's idol shop, and I'll tell the story just for the one person who missed it. Okay, so once upon a time, little Abraham is in his father's idol shop. Everyone's an idolater. Abraham's father is going to the idol worship store to buy some more materials because business is good. So he leaves Abi in charge, and Abi is sweeping up the idol shop, and he knocks over one of the idols, and oh God, my dad's going to kill me. So what does he do? He comes up with an idea. He turns the broom over and he starts smashing up all the idols, and he puts the broom in the biggest idol's hand, and he goes back to playing with his yo-yo. And I know it was 3,000 years ago. Okay, so it was probably hopscotch. But so his father comes home. The father says, "Well, my God, Abi, what happened here?" And Abraham's like, all the idols started fighting with each other, and the biggest one took the broom out of my hand, smashed up all the idols, and that's what happened. And the father goes, "They're just brick and stone and wood. They don't fight and talk and swing brooms." And Abraham goes, "Then why do you pray to them?" The end. So we talked about that story, I think, every month. So Abraham smashes all the idols belonging to his father, and that's the birth of Abraham as the monotheistic guy he is. That story is not in the Bible. But what's the problem with idolatry? It's stupid, but the question is it evil? Because if it's evil, not just, oh, you silly people praying to a stone, or little girls bowing down to a Buddha in China, but if it's evil, then you could say evil should be wiped off the face of the earth. So we got to connect. And so I'm not so sure that the Bible does a good job, the Torah does a good job making idolatry evil, just as kill them all. But the rabbis in the Talmud connect idolatry to evil. So because if idolaters are evil, Sodom and Gomorrah, so Sodom and Gomorrah is a bad place. I mean, they do have that scene where they're gonna rape the daughters and the guests. That's a bad place. We don't feel so bad when Sodom and Gomorrah is wiped off the face of the earth. So the child Abraham story makes idolatry look silly, but is it evil? So here it goes. In the Talmud, 2,000 years ago, there is an entire tractate called Avodah Zarah. And Avodah Zarah means foreign worship. Another term they use is Avodat Kochavim, the worshiping of stars. So idolatry. There's a whole book in the Talmud about idolatry. In the Bible, it never uses the term Avodah Zarah or foreign worship. It uses Elohim Acherim, other gods. Worshiping foreign gods is idolatry. Those who are the idolaters. So the Torah prohibits the construction of any sculpted image or the worship of it. So what is our big sin in the Bible? Golden calf, right? That's a pretty big one. By the way, they lived. We only supposed to kill the non-Jewish idolaters. Don't get me started. Okay, so in the Bible, idolatry becomes synonymous. I know it's going to sound terrible, but idolatry in the Bible is any religion that's not ours. Right? Now we have like Yitro, the Midianite priest, not Jewish. We're not killing him. It starts becoming, the people are living in Canaan, in Israel, right? We have to wipe them off. Why? Well, we can't say because we want the land. That would look bad. We're going to say it's because they're idolaters and they deserve it. Okay. The Mishnah, the 2,000 years ago, puts the word goyim, which is a term we have used before. Goyim means nations. By the way, we're a goy kadosh, a holy nation. Hello, Michael and Bonnie. You made it. All right. Come on in. How'd you find your way in? They opened the door. Good. Okay. Come on in. There is wine. There was wine and cheese outside. Okay, good. Then I won't.
But there is wine out there.
But you can drink wine. Okay. So in the Mishnah, the term goyim, which means nations, starts becoming also star worshipers. So people who worship the stars are goyim. Maimonides. Okay, so Maimonides says that before Abraham existed, the world was a bad place before Abraham existed. Idol worship enveloped the world, beginning with the veneration of celestial bodies, praying over the sun, the moon, right, and the stars, and proceeding to images of them until such time as the images became objects to worship in and of themselves. So we're praying to the moon, and then the moon becomes personified. You pray to the moon. In temple times, okay, so we have the temple in the Bible. In temple times, idolatrous practices were done by many ancient kings, the kings of Israel. Right? Any of us who study on Wednesday mornings, we study on Wednesday mornings the Bible, Book of Kings, Book of Samuel. Okay, a lot of our kings were getting involved in idolatry, including King Solomon. King Solomon dabbled in idolatry. I know it's surprising, but if you look closely, they all get punished. Right? God, anytime God wants to do something, it's because some king was getting into idolatry. The Talmud says, in Avodah Zarah, the book on idolatry, focuses on limiting interactions. Okay, because idolaters, and I'm going to bring up what the problem with idolatry is in a moment, practically speaking. But what happens is the Avodah Zarah book talks about not just what idolaters are, but we should avoid them. Right? We have to get away. We have to avoid them. We have to focus limiting interactions between Jews and idolaters. And again, idolaters became non-Jews. The idea that you can't drink wine poured by a non-Jew all comes from idolatry. That you're afraid that the wine was, involved in, idolatry practices. It was also probably because They didn't want Jews getting drunk with non-Jews because bad things can happen. You know, you can get together, more likely get together if you're drunk. Okay, so yeah, don't socialize. What else does the Talmud say? It prescribes any benefit from idolatrous practices. So you can't sell idols to you. You can't be a Jewish idol salesman. Even though business is good, you can't sell idols. Mishnah, anyone who encounters an idol should grind it up to dust and cast it to the sea. Right? That's it. So get rid of them all. Okay. So we get it. Idolatry is bad. We should kill them all. But why? So now let's talk about it for a moment. Now, this is my own take. The rabbis, Chabad, Aish, they don't like what I'm about to say, because if I say it, it's like it makes God look bad. I taught a class. It's my first class. Was it my first class? It was my first year here. I was teaching a class after Saturday morning services, and it was for 8th graders, like graduates of religious school. And I'm a new rabbi here. And I go in and I always try to teach the kids what they didn't learn in religious school. Right? Yeah. It's so I get in there, and the first class I have, I say something about God is God perfect? You know, and oh yeah, God's perfect. I said, what if I told you that God is jealous and angry and has wrath and one of the kids gets really mad at me. Okay, I won't mention names, but one of the kids gets really mad at me, and and I open up the Bible and I show God is a jealous God, right? Who is like God from all the other gods? And you worship gods, don't go to other gods. And it says because God is a jealous God. So there's an argument. And by the way, the kid walked out of my class and never came back. Went to Chabad. That's what happens when you send your kids to Camp Ramah. So, okay. But the idea is, there is an idea that idolatry, very simply, is a threat to our religion. All right. What does it say? Keep your sons and daughters away from idolaters, or they're going to steal them. Not kill them, but, convert them. So idolatry is a threat to Judaism. You could almost say it's a threat to God, if God is a jealous God. There are other gods, but our God's the best. So is idolatry competition? Now, again, Chabad and Aish, and traditionally speaking, this is blasphemy to say this. God is God. Judaism is great. No one competes. We're the best. There's no competition, right? That's always the rabbi joke. Yeah, there's no competition. But the idea is, you could see this as get rid of the competition. When we left Egypt, Exodus from Sinai, Exodus from Egypt, Passover, God leads us a roundabout way. Like if you look in the Eitz Chaim, when you're ever bored in another service and you have an Eitz Chaim Chumash, in the back of the Eitz Chaim Chumash, there is a map and it shows our route out of Egypt. And it kind of goes in a big circle. And it's, oh yeah, Jews need directions. But the idea is that it says in the Bible, and God said, I'm going to take you out a roundabout way so you don't meet up with someone else and join them. Right? Someone asked me a couple of days ago, about intermarriage, and and I said I have 100% guarantee that your kid will never intermarry. There's worse things, by the way, but they wanted 100% guarantee. I have 100% guarantee your kid will never intermarry if you follow my one rule. What's your one rule? 100% guarantee. If they never meet a non-Jew, they'll never intermarry. 100% guarantee. And what's the best way? Kill them all. If we kill them all, back in the Bible, get rid of idolaters, non-Jews. If we want Israel, get rid of them. Now, this is not a cool thing I'm saying, so we're going to go a different direction. But there is if you read the face value of the Bible before you get to the Talmud, it sure seems like they're in the way, and we are a new religion where we've got a homeland that's not ours, it's someone else's. And so there's some problems with these idolaters running around. It's tough. By the way, the Talmud does say no longer can you kill people for their land, but the rabbis say no. The rabbis do not accept that God is a jealous God. The rabbis do not accept that God needs to wipe out the competition. So what do the rabbis do? I already gave you the punchline a little earlier. idolatry is evil. Evil needs to be wiped out. No one's going to argue against that. And so the rabbis spend their time showing that idolatry is evil. That's why we got to get rid of idolatry. And so when you say to a rabbi, a young rabbi 20, 30 years ago, why do we have to get rid of idolaters? Well, we're getting rid of child sacrifice. We're getting rid of prostitution. And here it goes. Here's the list from the Talmud. What is idolatry? Child sacrifice, prostituting out our daughters, disposing of your unwanted infants, sexual assault of children, setting humans to kill each other. Oh, the story goes that there was a bunch of rabbis talking about all the benefits that Romans and Greeks gave to the world, science and math. They go, but along with that comes child sacrifice, prostituting your daughters, disposing of your unwanted infants, sexual assault of children, setting humans to kill each other for sport, ignoring the rights of those lower than you on the social ladder, refusing to acknowledge any social responsibility to the poor and to the unhealthy, and running to war against the nation next door. Now, all of those things for Judaism is evil. So what the rabbis do is they say, yes, you got to kill and get rid of all idolaters, but what are idolaters? It's evil, and you got to get rid of all evil. So the Torah says no to idolatry. Idolatry says yes to this list. And the difference for the rabbis is the value of human life. So the idea is that Judaism values human life, and idolatry does not value human life. So with that in mind, the questions earlier, Buddhism, Christianity, last week, Neil was really into paganism and Wicca and witchcraft. He wanted to know if there were Jewish witches. I actually looked that up. But here it goes. Huh? We're going to find out. You got to wait. It's not your turn yet. All right, here it goes. All right. So where is idolatry now? Can we find it? Who do we kill? Right? If we're going to follow the Bible, who are we going to go out and kill? And here's the answer. Before the Talmud ended in 500 CE, so we're going to make this about 1,500 years ago. 500 CE is when the Talmud ended. Before the Talmud ended, the link between non-Jews and idol worship is severed. All right? And it goes like this. This is from the Talmud. I'm going to read it to you. It's long and boring, but it's important. In response to the indication of divine acceptance, they observed a fast for 3 days and 3 nights, and God delivered the evil inclination to them. Okay, so this is going to be evil inclination, evil personified, right? So it's going to be a thing, all right? A form of a fiery lion cub came forth from the chamber of the Holy of Holies. Zechariah, the prophet, said to the Jewish people, this is the evil inclination for idol worship. Okay, so now we've got it's a little fiery lion cub. Just picture Lion King. Okay. And, but this is evil, the evil of idol worship in my hand. Okay. This is the evil inclination for idol worship as it is stated in the verse that refers to this event from Zechariah. This is a book in the Bible, chapter 5, verse 8. And he said, this is the evil one. When they caught hold of it, okay, so it's a cute little creature, but it's evil, okay? When they caught hold of it, one of its hairs fell out, and it let out a shriek of pain. I'm not making this stuff up. It's in the Talmud. And it let out a shriek of pain that could be heard for 400 parsangs. We're just going to make those miles. That's our mushroom nursery school's open house. Do you notice the parking lot was filled? It wasn't all for me. I know, but I couldn't find a space. Was it still filled when you got here with the parking lot? Oh yeah. You thought it was all for me, right? I know they're lost in here. Okay. So they let out, one of its hairs falls out. It lets out a shriek of pain that was heard for 400 miles. They said, what should we do to kill it? Let's kill this personification of the evil of idol worship. Since it cries out so much, sorry. What should we do to kill it? Perhaps, God forbid, they will have mercy upon it from heaven since it cries out so much. You're going to feel bad for this evil. The prophet said to them, throw it into, it sounds a lot like a movie, like Superman or something. Throw it into a container made of lead and seal the opening with lead, since lead absorbs sound. As it is stated, and he said, this is the evil one, and he cast it down into the midst of the measure, and he cast a stone of lead upon its opening, from Zechariah chapter 5, verse 8. They followed this advice, so the Israelites follow this advice of they captured evil, okay? And they were freed from the evil inclination for idol worship. So I know. This is the Talmud. It's crazy stuff sometimes, but what we got here is the idea of they it's like an exorcism. Remember I did an exorcism once, but the idea is that they somehow captured the evil of idol worship and imprisoned it and exiled it and banished it. Okay, so there's one argument from the story that there might be non-Jews, there might be evil, but there are no longer idol worshipers. There are non-Jews, but there are no idol worshipers. So because we got rid of it in Zechariah, chapter 5, verse 8. Therefore today, and now I'll stick to it, finishing up for today. Therefore today, Islam, okay, Islam is not idol worship for most rabbis and ancient times, but Christianity gets a little harder. All right, so Islam most rabbis were okay with Islam, but when it came to Christianity, the Trinity was hard for some people. Some rabbis regarded the worship of Jesus as the divine, as a clear case of idolatry. But there's a problem. If you're going to call Christians idolaters, the problem is we're surrounded by Christians. And if you go around saying you are a bunch of idolaters and deserve to die, bad things can happen to you. Since the majority of the world's Jews came to live in Christian lands, the Jews had to find another way to look at Christianity. So the answer becomes for the rabbis in ancient times, in the Middle Ages, that the Christian God is the same God as our God, but they approach God in different ways. It's going to be the mantra. We all pray to the same God. And we say this a lot. You meet someone and go, oh, you pray to God, but we're all praying the same God in different ways. You all have different names from God. Huh? Oh, we don't care what they think. You can worship Satan. We still think God is their God, even if they think they're praying to Satan. We don't believe they're praying to Satan. You're right. We can't force them to believe it. So what happens is the rabbis look at Christianity as praying to the same God in a different way. Eastern religions, now then you go back to Eastern religions, right? Hinduism, Buddhism, if you know something about it, there's a lot of gods in Eastern religions. So all of a sudden you've got Eastern religions who do believe in lots of gods by name. So I'm asking my Harrison, my smart kid. So Harrison, he has, because every one of his friends is some different ethnicity. So one of his friends was Hindu and he was over at the house. And I was like, so I had to ask him because, I said, I had to ask my Harrison's Hindu friend years ago. I said, I forgot his name, but I said, do you believe in more than one God? Well, I was wondering. Yep.
I don't know.
You're just visiting?
Yes. Someone left their lights on. It's a Honda sitting right here in the front of the building.
Anyone have a Honda here?
Okay.
Honda. Nope.
Okay.
We only drive. Yeah. No Hondas for us. Okay. Subaru. Yeah. Okay. So I asked my Harrison's friend about Hinduism, and he says, yes, we have all these different gods, but he says we're really only praying to one God. He said, and this one God appears to everyone in whatever form you are. So if you're an elephant, it comes to you in an elephant. If you're a woman, it comes as a woman. If you're a little boy, it comes as a little boy, but it's all the same God. I thought it was fascinating. Huh? That was the Hindu friend of Harrison's. Yeah. It's right. I mean, and I thought to myself, do you remember the movie Prince of Egypt? The cartoon movie Prince of Egypt. It's before most of you were born. But whenever Moses spoke to God, if you listen closely, it's the same actor. Okay, the God's voice. Yeah, I think it's Ralph Fiennes. I never know how to pronounce the guy's name. But whatever that actor's name is, he was the voice of Moses, but he was also the voice of God. And many of the rabbis said that God spoke to us in our voice. Like if you hear that little voice speaking, It should be your own voice. If you hear someone else's voice speaking, that's bad. But God speaks to us in our own way. So I thought about this Hinduism thing, that God, that for them, there's a different God for everything, because it's about how God is relating to the thing that it's with. So Hinduism, what happens is Maimonides says yes. Okay, so I'm finishing up on Hinduism. Maimonides says yes, Hinduism is idolatry. He's still not good with it. But Moses Mendelssohn, the father of modern philosophy, Moses Mendelssohn says no, Hinduism is not idolatry. And then Martin Buber, a very much more modern philosopher, said not only is Hinduism not idolatry, but that Hinduism or Buddhism has made positive contributions to his own understanding of Jewish spirituality. So, Martin Buber was kind of like the first Jubu, Jewish Buddhist, and
What's the difference between Hinduism and Buddhism?
So Hinduism is the umbrella, and then Buddhism is a form of Hinduism, but it focuses on Buddha. There's a guy named Buddha. He had a big belly. Okay, so but Hinduism, there's similar Eastern religions. So you could say that one comes from the other. Okay, so Hinduism then it gets off the hook too. So now, and Maimonides would say that Islam and Christianity are our monotheistic brothers and sisters, and Moses Mendelssohn and Martin Buber add in Hinduism. So last month, and this is my last page. Last month, Neil Ash really was, what about Wicca? What about paganism? What about magic? And so I did a little research just to finish this up. Really, I've given you the idolatry answer. Okay, so if you think about it, Kabbalah, anyone who studies Kabbalah might know that Kabbalists were a little magic-ish too. Harry Potter was not the first magician. The Kabbalistic authorities use divine names of God and of angels in various permutations and amulets, incantations to heal sick and otherwise manipulate the natural world. The Baal Shem Tov, kind of the creator of Hasidic Judaism, Baal Shem Tov means Baal, which means owner or master. Shem Tov means of good name. What that meant was that these people, there were Baal Shem Tovs throughout the world who knew God's ineffable name and could do magic tricks, heal the sick, water from a rock. Okay, the Ari, the father of the Zohar, was strictly opposed to such practices, magic. People who, and the reason Jews were afraid of using magic, the Ari said, that the people who were using it were pure and holy and able to relate to the higher realms of purity and holiness. But the rest of us are in danger of connecting only to the lower realms, which are a mixture of good and evil, thereby risking bringing impurity into ourselves. So that it's not that magic doesn't exist, but that we could, get into the evil, the lower realms. So is there witchcraft in the Torah? There is witchcraft in the Torah. King Saul goes to the witch of Endor. That's before there was Ewoks, and goes to the witch of Endor and brings back some dead guy. And that it's not like it didn't happen, but it was a no-no. He gets punished for it. But it's so you can't say it's not Jewish, but you can say it's not permitted. And are there modern Jewish witches? By the way, not only are there modern Jewish witches, there's a name for them. I wish I could type it up for you. Jewish. Okay, honestly, God, I saw it and I thought it was Jewitch, all one word. A Jewish. All right, it's funny, she doesn't look Jewish. Okay, so it's what is it? What Jewish? What movie? Spaceballs.
Sounds like a rabbi.
Right. Yeah, no, it was in Spaceballs. I don't have new jokes. I just steal them from Airplane the movie or Spaceballs. In Spaceballs, like Jewish princess. Okay, so there are modern Jewish witches, and so I have this quote from a pagan Jewish. Okay, and so if you want, so Neil, who might be watching this recording one day, because he was really busy tonight, he tried to move this class to yesterday, but they moved the executive board meeting to yesterday because of this class. So there was no way we're going to get it back. So here it goes. This is a quote from a pagan Jewish. Paganism is just like Judaism. Now, I'm not this is the disclaimer. These are not my words. This is a pagan Jewish from San Francisco, of course. Paganism is just like Judaism. Ask one pagan, you'll get 3 answers. Judaism, I'll keep on quoting, Judaism began out of the Canaanite pagan religion. This is my ancestry. It goes back to Ashkenaz, and it goes back farther. Well, I guess it's kind of like when someone says traditional, like, is an organ traditional, right? Oh, someone put an organ in a synagogue. Well, traditionally speaking, organs did exist, or at least musical instruments existed in the Holy Temple. So they used to have a whole symphony, right? The Psalm 150, cymbals and lyres and drums. So you could say that, if you go far enough back to tradition, right? Anything is traditional. So she's taking Judaism traditionally back before there was Judaism to paganism. It's all about seeing the interdependence of all beings and celebrating and listening to and respecting the earth as mother or our source. Torah yoga, I've been attacked sometimes that we have Torah yoga, not by many because everyone loves Torah yoga, but Torah yoga is a religious thing. For some people, yoga is a form of worship, right? And connecting to the ground, your downward dog. It's all about, hugging the earth. Okay. And being one. It is about, back to paganism. It is about the centrality of feminism. So that's a big part usually of paganism is feminism, celebrating the goddess, seeing the earth as mother, the fertility of the earth and the fertility of women. So, this one confused Jewish pagan Jewish, believes that by being pagan, she's going back to our original roots, which is predating Abraham. So it's not Jewish, it is pagan, but it's not idolatry, and we don't have to kill it. All right, so because we got idolatry is something that we were charged to get rid of, but it was also, we also in the same breath we find a way to say, it's kind of like the rebellious son. And we're actually, that's today's Torah reading. In today's Torah reading, we had the rebellious son this morning at 7 a.m. We're reading from the Torah. And the rebellious son, you're supposed to kill the rebellious son. And if any of you have ever had sons, you might have had a rebellious son once in a while, but you can't kill them because you may think you have a rebellious son, but you don't have the rebellious son according to the rules of rebellious sons. And you might think that you have an idolater, but they don't follow they got rid of that category. So they might worship idols, but that doesn't make them an idolater today. The end. So idolatry, bad, it's evil, kill them all, but they don't exist today. At least we don't have to. So now, Heidi, hit me.
Okay, so.
I'll repeat the question if you don't hear.
All right, so I take my glasses off to read my handwriting. So we celebrate every month.
Moon Rosh Chodesh, yep.
Rosh Chodesh. So how does that not fall into a category or classification of idolatry?
There were many rabbis. One of the parts I skipped in preparation for tonight were rabbis who said that a lot of what we do anthropomorphizes and we have a lot of objects that now we don't officially, like Rosh Chodesh, we have the new moon. Yeah. And by the way, I really taught Ellie, I keep on taking her out to drive. And every time I take her out to drive, I go, that darn moon is mocking me because I can tell how close we are to Rosh Hashanah, right? Yeah. Because I'm like, you see, when it was just a sliver like 2 weeks ago, I'm like, okay, we have like 28 days. And then like tonight, it's like halfway. And it's like, so we're 15 days but we don't. So the answer is we don't pray to the moon. We're not praying to the moon, and so we're not idol worshiping is the answer.
But even when we do all of these special.
Right. We pray for rain. We're not praying to rain. We pray for rain. We're praying for the moon. We thank the moon. I mean, the Torah looks like idolatry to a lot of people.
Are we honoring the moon? Is that a cross of idolatry?
No, we're not even honoring the moon. It's just
honoring the new month, I should say.
The new month. Yeah.
So does that not become a sliver?
There are some rabbis who felt that a lot of what we do, we did come out of this stuff too. Like the Abraham sacrificing Isaac was a slap in the face of where we were coming out of. Like, we're not going to do that. But a lot of what we do has tinges of idolatry to it. The rabbi, like Maimonides, really didn't like the making God. When we start talking about God has a hand, or God turned God's back, or God, God's finger. That, so there was an argument that even is, making God into a human is idolatry.
So why are we the ones to decide what portion or what sliver considered to be idolatry as opposed to what everybody else feels, or if
Well-
anyone else out there does it, they might feel the same way we feel about our ocean.
We don't care what other people think, but we do have in the Talmud that's not idolatry. Idolatry is evil, so if those two little girls in the beginning of my story, bow down to an idol, they're not raping and killing and, and murdering people. So it might be, yes, they bowed down to an idol, but that's not the idol worship we're worried about in the Bible.
Okay.
The Bible idol worship is the evil, it's Sodom and Gomorrah kind of stuff.
Okay, my second and final thing
All right.
is, so if we are worshiping, like you touched on, and I'm not gonna give the exact statement how
Yeah.
you said it, but Mother Nature or Earth or whatever. So what about Native American Indians? I mean, they are so.
Oh, yeah.
in
Well,
connect with-
paganism is they're worshiping, earth and stuff. That would, again, it is idol worship. It's just not idol worship. It's a no in Judaism. My favorite is when I've had at least 2 pagans come to convert to Judaism. That's a tough conversion. That's a pretty far stretch. It's much easier to convert a Christian than a pagan.
Native Americans.
Native Americans.
Idolatries?
I guess if they're praying to the moon or something, it would be idolatry, but it's not, you don't have to kill them. Again, it's, we don't agree with Christianity or Buddhism or Islam or any of them. They're all not Jewish. And, it's not that we're going to go to war because we'd lose. But it's a Native Americanism, whatever, if that's I don't know if it's a religion, but that's not ours.
That's their practice.
Yeah.
They pray to the moon, they
You-
pray to
huh?
the sun. It's a way of life.
It's a way of life. But if you're worshiping, if you're worshiping, I don't know, rain. Now, but again, we pray for rain too. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Right.
So how does, they,
Yeah. It's if
When we pray for rain,
when we pray for rain,
it's pray to
God, we're praying to God to give us rain. We're not praying to the rain. Right. Yeah. But I think some of this is semantics too.
So what's the difference?
Yeah. Now, again, what the part I'm not supposed to say is, there was getting rid of idolaters was important to get our religion off the ground too. It's we were bad tuchuses once upon a time.
The idea of killing somebody who doesn't believe like you is.
Yeah.
It's terrible,
Yeah.
right? Killing people who don't agree with us is terrible. Thank God we moved away from it. But almost all religions,
That might be
Huh?
idealistic, that might be idolatry.
right?
They don't like somebody,
But we were like that too once, right? It's there was not to rain on your Maccabees parade, but it's the Maccabees story starts with some Jews who were joining joining the other side, and Antioch, Judah was not happy, but. Almost all religions start off with, a kill them all attitude. I mean, the Pope used to be a guy with a sword and a shield. Now, you think of the Pope as a peaceful guy, but, and Judaism was not Abraham was a warrior once upon a time. Now, he wasn't going around proselytizing or killing people if you don't become Jewish. But it's a lot of religions start that way. We're just pretty old. We've evolved. And I'd like to think that all religions eventually evolve. To peace. It's hard to live in a world without it. So
I was thinking, you're talking about all the different gods that different religions pray to.
right.
It's gotta be crowded up there with all these.
There's a lot of gods up there, right?
Who's gonna decide how the earth is gonna go?
And a lot of us want to cover all our bases, so like I know people try to pray to all the gods right before they die, just in case. Yeah. Just make sure you cover all your bases. It's all right. Questions on Zoom? Any Zoom questioners? Let's see. I see anyone raise their hand. Let's see if Neil was here, it'd be about something else. But I like to pick on Neil. It's easier when he's here. So Yeah. Now, I don't know what our next big question is. I don't know if we even have it on calendar yet. I think we have the high holidays next, and then we have a bunch of adult ed when the high holidays are over, if we survive. And so that's, we pray, what? We pray to survive. We just don't pray to survival. Okay. So, but yeah, it's idolatry has always been bothering me because, we're so cruel. We're so cruel to idolaters. And I think about those poor Canaanite people living there, not ready for what's about to happen to them. So we did move away from killing people who don't agree with us. But, and remember, when God said, enter the land of Israel, there were people living there. And our job and Saul's job, the first king of Israel, was to get rid of everyone, man, woman, and child. But then the Talmud now makes that form of warfare illegal. It's against Jewish law now to grab a war to grab land for land acquisition is against Jewish law now, but it was allowed back then. So that we did move that away.
Why should people who, whatever their faith or religion,
Yeah.
why can't we just let them do that?
So if it's not evil, right. So the answer is, okay, so Michael's saying, why do we have to kill the ones who don't agree with us? The idea is, if it's evil, if they're killing innocent people and children and raping and prostituting their daughters out, right, huh? That religion is bad, but if you're supposed to protect the innocent, then you could argue that you need to get them. But if they just don't agree with you, if you just pray to God a different way, we don't believe in killing them. And actually, we now say, again, Maimonides put it the best, they're all our brothers and sisters. And again, even that the Hindu kid says we're praying the same, it's all one God. I mean, that's kind of my mantra. Yeah. No, I mean, every now and then you'll catch someone evil. I mean, like I'll say, if you have someone who's a Satanist and they pray to Satan, yeah, I guess they're still praying. They don't know they're praying to our God. Our God is still there, and we don't believe in Satan. So now, if you go around killing people, you're a murderer, and you get to, whatever you do to murderers. But God is still their God. You can say you can pray to anyone. I can pray to my dog. But but God is still God. Yeah,
It almost brings you to the point of capital punishment.
Yeah. Well, capital punishment was throughout the Bible. And this was capital punishment. It was capital punishment for evil.
What is the Jewish belief in capital punishment?
Well, I had this guy, he would send me letters all the time. What's the Jewish view of capital punishment? I'll go for 7 more minutes, fine, because that's like another 2 hours. But I'll do it in a few minutes. Capital punishment. I had a guy in the synagogue who would send me these things saying, you got to tell everyone that capital punishment is against Jewish law. It was back when it was popular. In the good old days, when we only had one problem in the world. So the problem is capital punishment is certainly in the Bible. Right? The Bible's filled with capital punishment. Yeah. Someone broke Shabbat and they were put to death. I mean, everyone gets killed. No one kills more people than God. So capital punishment is rampant in the Bible. And there's a whole bunch of things you should kill someone for, including murder. However, the Talmud, again, we evolve from the Bible. In the Talmud, the rabbis start arguing about capital punishment. And one argument is you can only do capital punishment when you have a Sanhedrin, a holy rabbinical court in the temple times. Since the temple was destroyed, we can no longer officially kill someone. So now if you rebuilt the temple, but that was one argument. Another one was rabbis. There were a bunch of rabbis arguing about who is more peaceful. and one rabbi says, if I killed someone every 7 years, I'd be a murderer. And the other one's, capital punishment. And
I was more interested in what Judaism thinks about the state putting somebody.
well, that's the answer. I'm talking about the capital punishment argument among the rabbis is they said, even if we had a court that could do it, like get rid of the ability. So the rabbis limit the ability of the court to kill someone. So how do you kill someone according to the Bible? You need two, and that was in today's Torah portion. You need two witnesses. All right, if you have one witness, O.J. Simpson, there's no witnesses, right? There's no capital punishment there. But if you have two witnesses and they're warned and blah, 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 then you can have a capital crime. So how do you have a capital crime? You have two witnesses. So what did the rabbis do? The rabbis had the judge ask the two witnesses impossible questions. This is actually this is actually how they did it. So okay, Mr. Sir, you saw this person kill someone. That's true. Okay, I have to question you as a witness. What are the height of trees in China? And you're like, I've never been to China. Okay, then you're not a valid witness. They would ask them ridiculous questions that no one knew the answers to invalidate them as witnesses in a murder case. So you could still be punished and you could be jailed or whatever, but you couldn't be put to death. So the rabbis moved, even though they couldn't get rid of capital punishment. It's in the Bible. It's in Judaism. There's capital punishment, but the rabbis limited it so you couldn't do it, to the point where the rabbis did get rid of capital punishment. Israel comes along, 1948, and Israel has only killed two people in this, I think, in the history of the state of Israel. Adolf Eichmann, yay, we're very happy about that one. But the other one that was killed was this strange thing where it was I think it was an officer in the army. They killed him and they realized he was innocent. And so they really tried, even though capital punishment is on the law of the land of Israel, they try to avoid it. And I would say that's the Jewish view, even today, even the Talmud. Capital punishment is on the books, but we try any way to avoid it. Oh, we can't do it because we don't have the right court of law. We don't have witnesses. We trust, now there were rabbis who liked capital punishment, but they were the minority in the Talmud.
It's such a big debate right now.
It is. If you ask me personally, my Jewish view, I would say that Judaism believes in capital punishment in a perfect system, but our system isn't perfect. And if going back to the value of a human life, that we can't kill one innocent person to save lots of innocent people. It's a kind of a Jewish thing. I know, we can come up with scenarios, the whole, a lot of different scenarios of the trolley scenario, but back to this one. The idea of killing someone. So if I kill 1,000 murderers, we caught them in the act, but we find out that one of the 1,000 people was innocent. Judaism would say we did wrong. It wasn't worth killing 999 murderers if you killed one innocent person. Certainly our numbers aren't even that good. I don't know what our numbers are at, but obviously we don't have a perfect justice system. They make movies about perfect justice system. And
There must have been some doubt to have been part of that group, to be maybe mistakenly.
Oh, no.
100%.
People on death row, now with DNA, they find people who shouldn't be on death row and get released. They're innocent, and they find out people that were murdered or killed for capital punishment were innocent. It's not most people who you'd like to believe, and I believe that most people on death row and murder and who we killed deserve it, but not all of them. There were mistakes made, and Judaism would say one mistake is not worth it. It wasn't worth killing it. There's no need to kill the innocent person.
Example of that is in the Pittsburgh speaker series this year. The last speaker is one who has been on video for the longest time, and
They released him?
Released him, and he's the featured speaker. Well, the last speaker in the Pittsburgh speaker series at Times Hall.
Oh, it happens all the time. I at least once a year, I hear someone getting released from prison who they found with DNA didn't do it, right? They caught the wrong guy, and and Judaism, that's the problem with capital punishment. It's not. I'm a fan of capital punishment. Some people deserve to die. My problem is it's not worth killing someone who doesn't deserve to die. And that's the Jewish kind of answer too. So that's why we're against it.
When you catch somebody who's basically red-handed,
Right.
killing 20 people in a school.
Right.
And,
Yeah.
does that person really deserve?
I just heard a story about, I was just talking about our guy, the October 27th. Yeah. And the one who did, where's the next shooter? Not
The one who.
California.
not the California. It was something. I'm just losing my mind. But it turns out he was talking to our guy, And so there's a movement to kill this guy, not because we need to kill him, but because, he has to stop spreading his evil. Like, because you can still communicate from prison, right? You can, and so that's a problem.
The one who, shot up, I believe, first he killed one of our former,
Oh, you're talking about our guy. We're talking about Bombhammer. Yeah. No, that was, right. He's still on death row. I know his lawyer. So, yeah,
Why is he still on death row?
it never ends. That's one of the families of the victims of October 27th actually asked for not death penalty because that's what happens. It just drags out forever and you can just put them away. But now we're saying that nowadays you can still communicate and spread your evil from prison. So it's
But why not
bad.
initiate the death? What's the purpose of capital punishment if you don't
Oh,
initiate it?
Well, yeah, it's just,
Especially in a case like that.
oh yeah, most of us would have no problem with it. The problem is it's so hard. The death row has such a backup. It's that, people have been in death row for 20, 30 years. Now, in some cases, they find out they're innocent and they get off first, but it's no, Judaism is, the problem is killing innocent people by accident. Now, you said catching someone red-handed. By the way, Jewish law, you're gonna like this one. According to traditional Jewish law, if someone says, I did it, that doesn't count. You can't testify against yourself in Jewish law. You still need two witnesses, even if you said, I did it.
So that's a flaw in our own system.
Well, it's a flaw in 2,000-year-old system.
But it's still being honored and acknowledged and discussed.
Well, there's an argument that, a person can't testify against themselves. It's not, we've had people, many people have confessed who didn't do it. Some people, the reasons why people confess, who knows? But the Judaism said you needed two witnesses. Not only did you need two witnesses, the person had to be warned before they did it, had to know, this is also interesting, you had to know the consequences of your actions. So a person who doesn't know right from wrong or doesn't understand what they're doing would not be liable for death penalty
That
either.
might be so 2,000 years ago. In
Even
today's
today.
World, no, I disagree with that today's world.
Well, no, I'm talking about fact. According to the law, a person who doesn't, know, what's going on, that's considered, whatever.
You would have to kill someone.
Well, not if they didn't know they were killing someone. But it's
Sorry.
I'm just talking about the law. I'm not talking about our opinions here. So
There are a lot of bad lawyers that talk their clients into.
Shelley, yes. Yeah, you can talk someone into taking a plea. You know how many people I've talked to who have taken pleas?
And they don't know what's going to happen to them. They don't
Right.
understand by taking the plea what's going to happen.
Right. Yeah, and there's people who you can take advantage of. Again, I'm not a pacifist. Lots of people deserve to die. I have no problem killing bad people. The problem is it's not perfect.
Who's
And
bad?
because it's not perfect, I'd rather just lock them up. It's
Definition of bad is different for everybody.
that's true too. Some people think Jews are bad. Yeah, don't kill them. All right, so very good. It's 8:30 something or other. I'm going blind. So that was capital punishment. Don't tell Neil. Okay, and I don't know what our next class is, but the holidays are coming. So come to the high holidays. And just today, Pittsburgh moved to the low COVID transmission level. So just wait till next week. It'll move back to yellow or something. But it's but today it's green. For today, it's green. They change it once a week, huh?
That's because kids-
The sign says what? What does it say?
It says that CDC, said now it's medium.
It's medium. Yeah, we haven't changed the signs yet because I only found out this morning. It's actually this afternoon. Well, Al, it was nice seeing the grandkids, Marlise, Bob, Linda, Shelley, Irv, and Joan, Edie, and Nick, Richard and Ellen, Michael and Bonnie, John and Carol, and Heidi. Have a good night. Thanks for being with us. Okay. I don't know what our next tough question is, but it'll come.
Thank you.